close your eyes, not to think about a pink elephant. The pictures of a pink elephant might appear. If I change it, close your eye, do not think about a white bear. The image of a bear might happen. So instead of just asking ourselves, okay, don't feel stressed, don't feel anxious, we can actually work on relaxation exercises. So here are a few relaxation exercises that can be helpful. So first is what we call as mindful breathing. When we actually feel anxious, we have this rapid heartbeat, etc. So if we do the mindful breathing, it can in fact help us to slow down the heartbeat and allows us to feel calmer. So here are a few quote unquote SOP to do the mindful breathing. So the steps include, first, we breathe in slowly. Second, we breathe out slower. Third, diaphragmatic breathing is if possible. And fourth, bring attention to the breathing process. So if we are doing that together, I would like to invite you to do together with me. So it might be helpful if we put our hand on the chest, and also maybe I need to stand up, another hand on our stomach. Okay, so when we do that, we try to breathe in slowly. Okay, so for example, I'm making some sound effects of that I'm breathing in and breathing out. If you are doing in front of your screen, you don't have to breathe that heavily that makes sounds. Okay, let us start to breathe in slowly. And also breathe up slowly. And when you are doing the breathing exercises, it might be helpful if we bring attention to the breathing process. When we breathe in, we feel the air go through our nostrils. If we want, we can put our mouth in the O shape and then allow our lips to feel the air flowing out. Okay, so this is something we call mindful breathing. When we are trying to do this kind of mindful breathing, we are in fact turning our attention to the sensations or to our feelings of breathe in and breathe out. And in fact, it allows our brain to take the gap in between the chronic anxiety. Because as we try to focus on the breathing process, we in fact cannot really think about other thing else. So this is mindful breathing. And if you are working with younger children, if you have younger children at home, we can try this mindful breathing, a child-friendly version. For example, this alligator breath. Opens your arms wide like alligator jaws on the in-breath, and then snap them shut on the out-breath. Okay, so this is alligator breath. Another would be butterfly breath. Spread our arms like beautiful butterflies on the in-breath like this. And then let them flap gently out on the out-breath. Okay, I'm so sorry, I forgot to credit the book. This is a book called ABC, Mindful Breathing, etc. You can find that in the Google bookstore. Okay, so this is the mindful breathing that is in fact help us to slow our heartbeat down, allow us to engage to the relaxation state through the physiological manner. The second way is through the progressive muscle relaxation. For that one, I would like to invite you to maybe, this one is for your reference for what you can see on the slide here. But I would like to invite you to do a live progressive muscle relaxation together with me over the screen. So if possible, you might need to stand up. I need to walk past back a little bit so to show you. Okay, so first step, we are going to do the hand progressive muscle relaxation together. So what we are going to do is we are going to hold our arms straight up. Okay, just like we are squeezing orange juice. Okay, we squeeze as firm as we can, but not until the point that we feel shaky or we feel the pain while we try to squeeze. Okay, let's do that together for 10 seconds. Squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax. Some of us might report our hand feeling heavier, or some of us might report our hands feeling warmer, or sometimes it is also possible that we feel our hands being a little bit lighter. But I would like us to highlight that this is in fact the relaxed feelings of our muscles. Okay, and just now I forgot to mention, when our body engage in this fight or flight symptoms, our brain will send a signal to our muscle to be tense, so that we are ready to fight or to flight. However, in our society now, we don't really have much thing to work on the fight or flight. In fact, most of our work involve working in the office, etc. So the tense muscle will remain tense because we not yet to get to fight or flight. And this tense muscle will in fact send the signals back to the brain, telling the brain that, hey, it's not the time to relax yet. We are still not yet, we are still in the crisis. We are still getting ready to fight or flight. So doing this muscle relaxation help us to help the muscle to send the signal to the brain, allow us to be able to relax better. So just now, the first step is the orange squeezing activity. Second step is about our muscle at the back here. So just put ourselves in the driving position. Okay, then pull our arm backward. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax. So this is the third step. Second step. The third step is about all the muscles along the line here. So what we need to do is to stand firm, shoulder wide, and then aim to support the ceiling. Something like this, stretch all the way we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax. Okay. And the last one I would like to share with you over the screen here is of our muscles around the shoulder and also the neck. So what we need to do here is shoulder up, head down, something like a turtle. If I have to do that sideways so you can see better. So head down, shoulder up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Drop the shoulder slowly. Okay, so this is the progressive muscle relaxation. When in practice, it takes you less than a minute to complete some of the major muscle groups to achieve the relaxation feelings. But however, if some of you had any injuries at some of the body parts previously, you might want to skip that area during your daily practice. It can be helpful if we do that twice a day, maybe once at the morning and another round before we go to sleep. Okay. And the third relaxation exercise is something we call informal mindfulness exercises. Okay, so some of this is an example here. We call it mindful walking. So a lot of time when we are in stress or we have lots of things to be done, our mind will just keep thinking about, okay, I need to do that tomorrow. I forgot to do that earlier. I need to do that later, etc. And in fact, some of the time, even in some daily activities, our mind is just keep thinking about all the stressful things. And some of the time we know that thinking about those things doesn't help at all. For example, when I'm taking my bath, I used to think about my work. And I know that thinking about preparing the work, thinking about a talk, for example, a talk I'm having now, just thinking about it doesn't help with the preparation in any way. But thinking about it make my bathing time stressful. And there have been times I use my toothpaste as my face rub. I use my shampoo as my body shampoo, my hair shampoo as my body shampoo. And this is the symptoms or the signs of the mindlessness. So these are some of the informal mindfulness exercise that we can try. And what you can see from the slide here is the mindful walking. So here are the steps, step-by-step procedure. First is take a time in our daily routine to practice mindful walking for at least 5 minutes. Concentrate on the physical sensation of walking, like the sights, the sound, and the feelings of each step. If our mind wanders, and that is very normal that it wanders away, gently just return our focus by repeating left, right as we walk, or by focusing our sensation back to our attention back to our body sensation, like the sights, what we see around when we walk, what we hear, etc. The same goes for mindful taking bath. Focus on the smells of the shampoo, focus on the temperature of the water, etc. And also we can do the same on the eating part. When we eat, other than watching our phone while eating, so it might be helpful if we just scoop our food, put it in our mouth, chew slowly, really taste, feel the taste of the food, how good it tastes, the texture of it, the smell of it, etc., before we slowly swallow it. So these are some of the informal mindfulness exercise that we can try to reduce the stress and also to reduce the anxiety. Okay, this is the first category of ways. Second category of ways is to maintain our daily routine. I understand that some of us are currently working from home, or have a not that our daily routine is disrupted by all the working arrangement or the study arrangement because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so in fact, I understand that some of us daily routine has been disrupted. Maybe we sleep late at night and we wake up late at the morning. And sometimes because we are not actually going out anywhere, we might take nap in the afternoon. So all these can actually predispose us or make it as a risk factor for us to develop a various kind of mental symptoms like insomnia, anxiety, etc. So it can be helpful if we can maintain our daily routine, including exercises, including time to sleep, when to sleep, and also when to wake up. And some studies suggest that even sometimes we might have heard that people say that keeping a pet help us to be more psychologically healthy, improve our mental health. Yeah, so that is a fact, but some studies actually suggest that it's not really about the pet, but it's the thing that when we are having a pet, the pet kind of like forces us to maintain our daily routine. We need to, for example, if you are keeping fish, you need to feed the fish at a specific time. You need to change the water. If you're having dog, the dog might wake you up when the dog is hungry, etc. So second category of ways is maintain the daily routine. Third is, how about news? Some of us read news every day, and some of us might feel a little bit uneasy reading all the news, especially some of the news related to vaccine lately. I believe that some of us might notice that there have been some news stating some of the horrible or unwanted, unpleasant side effects about vaccine, and it can trigger anxiety for some of the population. So it might be helpful if, so the pros of the reading news is, yes, at times of uncertainty, reading news, seeking confirmation, give us a sense of the security, and we get to know the latest, what's going on about all the working arrangement, about all the COVID-19 vaccine, etc. These are the pros. But the cons is that more news might actually equals to more anxiety, because the news is just report things has been uncertain right now. We don't really have a certain answer for everything. And also the news, because it gives us a sense of security, it might actually become a quote unquote addictive behavior, that we kind of like hook to the news and we want to just read everything and get everything out from the news. But sometimes we know that the news doesn't really able to give us the perfect answer. So when we know that, when we start to feel that reading news gives us a sense of anxiety, so these are some of the things that we can do to cope with the news-related anxiety. So here, for each day, we try to limit our exposure to the news. And maximum, I would recommend to spend about 2 to 3 hours with the news. Secondly, I would actually suggest that avoid reading or watching news 2 hours before sleeping. I understand that there are some nighttime news start to be on air about 10:30. And if you found that your sleep is disturbed by the news content, so it might be helpful if you stop watching the news for a while. And third is to kind of like detoxification. So do something else after watching news before going to sleep. So this is about the news. The fourth category of ways is about the stay connected. in the course of, at this period of time, I understand that interstate travel is not allowed. And it also means that we are separated from some of our family members, some of our friends, etc. So we might feel social isolated, and people has been talking, we need to maintain a social distance because of the COVID-19. Well, I would say that highlight here that, and some news actually using this already, we need to maintain physical distance, but not the social distance. So it might be helpful if we keep on connect to our loved ones through video call, phone call, and even messaging. Just keep ourselves stay connected socially. Okay. Next is about sleep. So sleep has been an issue, at least for me and sometimes for my friends during this period of time. So here are some good strategies to help us to sleep better. First is stop caffeine intake afternoon. And caffeine can be found from definitely coffee, tea, some of the carbonated drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and also sometimes in the chocolate drink. So if we face difficulty in sleeping, so stop caffeine intake afternoon. Secondly, cut down or stop alcohol at the bedtime. The same goes for cut down or stop nicotine cigarette at bedtime. Number 4 is do not exercise within 3 hours of bedtime. Although some of the people claim that, okay, after I exercise, I get to sleep better. But that is really unique to individuals. And the general rule is that, yes, exercise helps us to sleep, but not 3 hours before sleeping, because it affects our body temperature. It is helpful if we can exercise at the evening, for example, 6 p.m. And after that has been definitely more than 3 hours before we sleep. So at night, about 10 to 11, we might be able to sleep better. Fifth one is make the bedroom environment comfortable. Try to shoot out all the sounds, noises, light, etc. And for some people, eating a light snack at the bedtime can be helpful. Avoid excessive fluids near bedtime. And number 8, it can be difficult for some of my clients that when we work together, is that if we can't fall asleep, if, for example, if I go to the bed at 11 p.m., I lie down, I try to sleep. If I can't fall asleep, I need to leave the bed after 20 minutes. Do something else, not using the phone, not watching news, maybe read books, not doing house chores, definitely. So read books, listening to some music, etc. Do something else and go to bed after 20 minutes. This is because that when we lie down on the bed for too long, and we are trying to force ourselves to get to sleep. But that is the weird things there is that the more forcefully we try to force ourselves to sleep, the harder it is for us to fall asleep. So instead of forcing ourselves to sleep, keep staying on the bed, keep thinking, why am I still not sleeping? Leave the bed, do something else, and return to the bed later. And one more thing I missed in the slide is try to reduce the use of screens or the electronic devices 30 minutes to 1 hour before sleeping. Okay, next is about thought strategies. From some of the psychological theories, it suggests that when we feel anxiety, it's because part of it is due to our thoughts. We feel like the threat is too big, while our ability to cope is too small. So because our ability to cope is underestimated and the risk is overestimated, we feel the anxiety, we are not sure what to do. Okay, so here are some of the strategies for us to kind of like decatastrophize the events that might be happening in the future as an attempt to cope with the anxiety. We can firstly ask ourselves, what's worst that can happen? Secondly, I can ask, does that have a low, medium, or high chance of happening? Third, I can ask, what is the best outcome or the best things that could happen? And number 4, I can ask myself, what is the most likely or more probable outcome? Okay. So let put that as an example. I feel anxious now to deliver this webinar. So I already feel anxious. So I was thinking, put in this context, what is the worst thing that can happen? I was thinking the worst thing that can happen can be all the audience type in the chat box here. So say that this is the most boring webinar I ever attended. The speaker is just very boring. I'm just too bored, and every people leave the webinar. So that was the worst thing I can think of. So does that have a low, medium, or high chance of happening? I would say, yeah, maybe there was a medium chance. And third, I need to think at what is the best outcome or best thing that could happen. I guess the best outcome is that people keep telling me, hey, that was a very good sharing. I don't know, that's the best thing I can think of. So the last question is, I ask myself, what is the most likely or most probable outcome? And after a few thoughts, I think that the most likely or most probable outcome might be I deliver the thoughts with sometimes I find some vocab I find it hard to tell, and then it doesn't really hurt the flow of the presentation. And after I go through this, I find that, okay, the anxiety really decreased, because I feel like I can have the ability to cope, and I have a better idea about the most likely or most probable outcomes. Also, another thought strategist is that what could we do if something that is the worst outcome come true? And I also think about that myself just now. If really everyone says that this is the most boring webinar ever, okay, what I can do is I can definitely improve myself so that I can do better in the future. It is something within my control. Thinking about that also helped me to feel less anxious. And here are some other questions that we can do to ourselves, ask ourselves. For example, if we feel anxious or feel something really hurt our mood, we can ask, what's another explanation? What's another way to think about it? What is the evidence that this thought is not true or is not completely true? If we think that we always make things bad, if we can ask ourselves, is it sometimes, never, or all the time? Is it always, never, or all the time? Or is it someone, everyone, or no one? So for example, we think that no one's ever helped me. We can ask ourselves this question, and sometimes asking this question can help us to have a better thought, or better, more realistic idea of what is going on, and subsequently reduce our anxiety level. Okay. All in all, just now we mentioned some of the self-help strategies that can be helpful, but all in all, I really would like to take the chance to highlight that anxiety is a normal reaction. When things happen, like example, I have this webinar to deliver, I feel anxious. Anxiety is a normal reaction. However, and yet, we might need to seek professional support if the anxiety persists longer than usual, or the anxiety is getting worse, or it affects the daily life and the interactions with others, or it causes distress to self or others. Okay, so if our anxiety symptoms or the symptoms of our loved ones start to reach this level, what can we do? Well, first thing is we can talk to an AI, an artificial intelligence. So VBot is an AI. You can download the app from your iPhone, your Android, or even just use that in the browser, just like talking to someone through the Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. VBot is an artificial intelligence designed to support people to cope with some of the mental symptoms using some evidence-based strategies. While I do not have the time to try it out with you here, but you can download it and have a look yourself. Okay, I have about 8 minutes left. So yeah. Okay, if you think that you or your care ones need further support, so here are a list of professionals that can be helpful. And in Malaysia, the mental health professionals that they are trained to support people to go through mental health symptoms like anxiety or depressive symptoms include registered and licensed counselor. They usually have minimum academic qualification is they have a bachelor in counseling. They are registered with Lembaga Counselor Malaysia, and they are to provide guidance and counseling. The second professionals that can be helpful in this case is clinical psychologists. They have their minimal qualifications in the Master in Clinical Psychology, and a lot of them are in fact are registered as full member with Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology. They to provide psychotherapy and also diagnosis. And also medical doctors like psychiatrists can be helpful to support people to work with, to cope with the anxiety symptoms. So psychiatrists are medical specialists. So they are just like other specialist doctor. Their minimum academic qualification is the master in psychological medicine or other equivalent. They are registered with our National Specialist Register, and they are to provide psychopharmacological intervention, which means medication, diagnosis, and also psychotherapy. This is way to look for them, look for the counselor, clinical psychologist, and also the psychiatrist in Malaysia. From the government side, we can look for them in clinical kesihatan. We have counselors and also doctor there. We have Mentari. So Mentari is a community mental health center by our government. So in this center here, the listed here, there are senior medical officers who are trained in the mental health related conditions, and seeking support from Mentari can also be a way to cope with the mental health symptoms. And if needed, the senior medical officers might in fact refer the client to see a psychiatrist. And for the NGOs and private clinics, you might want to visit the profession registry. Like for counselors, there is a directory of counselors, registered counselors, and like registered and licensed counselor in Malaysia. For clinical psychologists, there is this MSCP, Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology registry. And for psychiatrists, there is the National Specialist Registrar. Okay, so lastly, I would like to briefly cover the quick SOP to talk to someone to seek help. If we noted some of our loved ones might be dealing with significant anxiety, and this is the SOP to talk to them quickly. So first, we express our care and concerns. So this is some basics scripts or some verbatim. We can start with I noted you are ... Are you ... Is there something ongoing? Okay, this is the first step, the C step. Second step is attentively listen. We try to listen to them. But not giving our judgment to them. And this attentively listen here really highlights that we listen but reduce the speaking. So a good way to actually show that we are actively listen is that we respond with the concept of meow. So we can I see, and wow. Okay, so there's MIAW. Lastly, we might need to do some quick risk review and management, see if they are at risk of hurting themselves or not, but that is beyond the scope of what we want to talk about today. But we can ask some straightforward questions, like sometimes when people are in this state, so anxious like you do, so they might actually think about harming themselves. May I know if you think similarly? So that's the risk review and management. If they are, we might really need to ensure they can get the professional support. So the fourth is empowerment with the information. We can talk to them about the strategies that can be helpful, like what I shared with you earlier from step 1, relaxation, maintain a daily routine, sleep, about the thought strategies, and lastly, ensure professional help by, for example, helping them to get the contact number of the professionals we mentioned just now, helping them to make an appointment or going to the appointment with them. Okay, so this is approaching the end of the webinar. Earlier on, we talked about something like the fight or flight. So anxiety means that we must do something about it. And also so this is what anxiety prompts our body to do something about the potential danger, in the future. However, for depression, is after usually how we go through these stages. When we feel very stressful, then we feel the anxiety. When we are anxious for too long already, when we might start to develop some depressive symptoms, like what I do does not make a difference anymore, and then we might actually stop doing anything. And for the fight or flight related to anxiety now, and if your anxiety is about COVID-19, just now I mentioned that we can't run away from it and we can't fight it, but let's do it with a twist here. We can in fact fight it. So what we have in the SOP published by the government sectors is our way to fight against COVID-19 in Malaysia. When the COVID-19 can't find a new host, they are going to die. We are in fact fighting it by killing it, stopping the spread of the COVID-19, and also we actually end the life of the COVID-19. So that's all for the content of the webinar today. If you have questions, you can ask now, or if you think of any questions later, you can also drop me an email at my Utah official email address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dave, for the sharing. Okay. Okay. So before we proceed to Q&A, please scan the QR code here for the evaluation form, and this will take about 1 to 2 minutes to complete the form. So kindly fill up the form, as your feedback is very important for us to improve in the upcoming webinar. And also, you can click the link in the chat box for the evaluation form. Okay. So if any one of you have finished to fill up the form, you can just put a message in the chat box to let me know, so that we can proceed to the Q&A. And also, if you have any questions to ask Mr. Day, you may leave your message in the chat box as well. Okay. So any one of you have done the evaluation form? If yes, then you just leave a message in the chat box, say yes. And if you have any questions, you can just put a message in the chat box. Okay. All right. Anyone of you have finished the slide? All right. So any one of you have filled up the evaluation form? If yes, then we will proceed to the Q&A. Okay, all right. So how about others? So if you have any questions, you can just leave a message in the chat box, and Mr. Dave will answer it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we open the floor for the Q&A. If you have any questions, you can just ask Mr. Day. And before that, I have a question to ask Mr. Day, actually.
Yes.
Actually, my experience, because like during last year, just MCO, and I was like jet lag. I could not sleep at the night and wake up very late in the morning, like 10 to 11 a.m. And I sleep at about 3 to 4 a.m. Yeah, so may I know, is it because we stay at home, we didn't go out and less exercise, so that we don't feel like we are tired? So that's why I have faced this problem, Mr. Day.
Yeah, there are a few different reasons for that. I guess one of the things that I also heard from my friend is the lack of exposure to the sunlight.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, sunlight is kind of like our biological clock reset button. So if we put ourselves away from the sunlight or other of these reset buttons for a long time, our biological clock will get haywire. So other than sunlight, it also includes daily activities. Amount of daily activities also include the food and also surrounding sounds. But having at home with some of the instant food available at home, so these reset buttons aren't really working.
Yeah.
So that can be a reason.
I see. Yeah, so that time I was like every day sleep at 4 a.m. and then wake up in the afternoon and feel like so wrong.
Okay, yeah.
So and also another questions that I would like to know, like just now you as mentioned, before we sleep and we have our mind cannot stop thinking, like the next day what we are going to do and do some planning in our mind. So why this is because of the nervous or the anxiety, and how can we stop that and have a we can sleep well in the night? How can we do that?
Yeah, there is a way we call worry time that we can practice. For example, we schedule a 15 to 20-minute time slot of the day, and this is the time that we can worry all we can at that time. And if we miss that slot, we only can just use our smartphone or some notes to write down, okay, this is something I need to worry about. I need to think, I need to plan. And take that note and think and wait until the slot, the worry time slot, then we worry all the way we can.
Okay. Okay, so this is the way that we can.
This is one of the many strategies that can be helpful.
I see. And then I saw there's one question from the chat box. It's a PM. So it's just about how to know we should look for help from counselor, psychotherapist, any sign, any different by looking counselor and psychotherapist. Any different by looking counselor and psychotherapist?
Okay, I guess I answered that in using the slide. Just now we mentioned that anxiety is a normal reaction, but if we find that anxiety is actually disturbing us, then yes, we can definitely talk to a counselor for some support or counseling sessions or guidance session to work on the anxiety symptoms. But somehow by textbook definition, so the line between whether we need to seek to counselor or the clinical psychologist is whether there is some impairment in daily life. For example, if the person, because of the anxiety, the person can no longer go to work, can no longer attend school because of social anxiety. There are different forms of anxiety disorders like social anxiety, separation anxiety, etc. If someone daily life that is already an impairment, it might be helpful if the person seeks support from a clinical psychologist. But regardless, I would say that seeking help is the most important thing to do. And just in case, we talk to the definitely there is no wrong person. But if we talk to a clinical psychologist, for example, if we find that, okay, the symptoms are, yes, is definitely there, and we might actually do the referral to the counselor so that they can better manage the symptoms. So each three professions have their own specialty, and it really depends on the person's condition at that time. I'm sorry, I can't really give you a very clear-cut answer because the symptoms range in a continuum.
Okay. So if let's say they would like to look for counselor, is Utah provide the counseling section for the public, right?
Utah, okay, the Department of Student Affairs, they do not offer counseling service to the public, but for the public, in FAS, Faculty of Art and Social Science here, we are operating this Utah Community Counseling Center. And within the center, we have counselors and clinical psychologists to provide the service to the public.
So for this service is free of charge or?
With charges.
Oh, okay, I see. So they can make appointment through the online, right?
Yeah, appointment through the online. You can type in Utah Community Counseling Center. You get the website. Then you can contact us through the WhatsApp number as posted in the website.
Okay. So is there any other questions from the floor? Any of you have any questions to ask Mr. Teh? And you would like to know more about what is the path if I want to become the psychotherapist?
Okay, psychotherapist is, in my opinion, is not really a name of an occupation name in Malaysia. So it's either counselor or clinical psychologist as a more commonly used name. For counselor, the minimum academic requirement is to get a bachelor's in guidance and counseling, bachelor degree. And for clinical psychologists, the minimum academic qualification is a master degree in clinical psychology. And to qualify to enter the master degree program, the candidate usually needs to have either a bachelor degree in psychology or counseling.
Okay. So any questions from the attendees?
I saw one more.
Okay.
My friend planned to become a psychiatrist. What she should do? Okay, so as a psychiatrist is a medical specialist, so the first degree your friend need to take is the Bachelor of Medicine. So becoming a general doctor first, general medical officer, then she can do her master to become a psychiatrist. The path is very similar to other specialist doctor.
I see. Another question, is it difficult to handle the emotion from clients?
Is it difficult to handle? I would say not really. Definitely sometimes when the emotion is intense, you might feel ourselves very kind of like feeling empathic to the clients, and then we might feel the emotion they feel. And that is the time that we really develop connection with the people, with the client that we are seeing. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, but sometimes it can be exhausting if there is no peer support or any support available for the therapists themselves.
I see. Okay. So any other questions? Yes, there's one more.
Where to study Master of Clinical Psychology degree is most preferable in Malaysia or foreign country? The world is so big, so if you're talking about foreign country, I mean, definitely other countries have their own specialty. And in fact, a lot of our evidence-based strategies that we use in the field are from Western countries. So if you are going to a university with the founders are teaching there, I would see that is definitely an advantage. But the thing is, most of the master program in Malaysia, all master program in Malaysia has the practicum as part of the syllabus, which means that upon graduation and fulfilling the practicum hours, the person can practice as a clinical psychologist. However, in foreign countries, there are just too much different master courses, and some of the master courses does not have practicum hour. And with that master degree, if you come back to Malaysia, which means that you can't practice in Malaysia with that master degree because there is no practicum component.
Okay. Another question is any professional recognition from psychology field?
Not yet. For the clinical psychologist and ACTA, the Allied Health Act is already there, but it's pending to be what's the term called? Pending to be passed. Pending to be, what's the name again? Pending to be implemented or activated. The act is already there.
I see. Okay. So any other questions from the audience? Any questions? If no, then we will proceed. We will end the webinar sections. Any questions from the floor again? All right. So there's no more questions from the floor. Okay, so the Q&A will be end here. Okay, so before we end, please allow me to introduce Utah, right? So, okay, so thank you, Mr. Dare, for the Q&A part. Okay, so before we end, I would like to talk about introduce our Utah. So for information, Utah has 2 campuses. One is located at Kamba campus in Perak, and another one at Sungai Long campus in Kajang, Selangor. So this is the areas of study that we do provided, which is from accounting, business and economics, actuarial science, mathematics and process management, agriculture and food science, arts and social sciences and educations, trade study, creative industrial and design, engineering and technology and built environment, IT, life and physical sciences, medicine and health sciences. And for information, we do offer more than 120 programs offer. And also we have over 69,000 of alumni. And for information, the employability rate within 6 months after graduation is 95% to 97%. Okay, and also no worry about that. And we do offer 79 of student club and society for you to join. Okay, so for information, if you have any questions to ask about the program, you can always visit to our website study.utah.edu.my or /cn. And if you have any questions, you can just inbox us from Facebook, Utah for You, or WeChat to UtahNet, or you may call us or WhatsApp us through to the hotline, and also email your questions to the email address here, enquiry@allianceutah.edu.my. Okay, so for information, this is our upcoming webinar, which is on tomorrow, 8 to 9 p.m. We will talk about nutritional immunology. So if you're interested of this webinar, you can scan the QR code here for the registrations, or you may screenshot the slide first and register later. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you all for joining the webinar today. Thank you so much. And also thank you, Mr. Day, for the sharing sections.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.